All right, please, you can come forward. There is space here on the front. Do not hesitate. We are not in comedy special, so I will not roast you if you are on the front row. Okay, so in respect to the person that will present after me, I think it's 11:05. We can kick it. Can we just close the door, please? Thanks. All right, so thank you all for coming to this session. I'm really glad to see many here. We will address a topic that has been in the news recently, which is AI. Just a quick overview here. It's Salesforce and AI 101. So you are in your first year of degree. We are going to talk about the basics to make it familiar to everyone. So it's going to be a brief about the past, the present, and a word for the future. Word about me. So I'm working for Deloitte Digital, France, and I'm a senior consultant. So I want to share with you a quote before starting. I think it brings value and consideration to this moment that we are sharing here together. I would like to quote a great philosopher that I like. So it's Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda. I don't know if you know it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it is called the present. So I'm grateful to be here with you today, and I'm considering that as a present for me and all of us together to be here. Okay, so how this will go. Sorry, maybe it's a bit small, but the first part is AI 101. We will not be talking about Salesforce, global basics for each one to know. Then we will zoom in, Salesforce and AI. What's the story there? Then what's in it now for devs? We will not focus a lot about the use cases that are more toward, let's say, admin or final users here. We won't have the time. And then how to get what you want from AI, still in the level of devs and Salesforce AI, and then a summary and hopefully Q&A. Okay, so for the history, 1950, Alan Turing was working on algorithmics and machines. So it's the birth of AI. It comes from an idea is, how can we reduce human resources impact on running businesses, and how can we automatize and perform well because machines do not get tired, machines do not create humans. Not the only motive, but also it's a search for excellence and deterministic behavior. So Alan Turing, you all know the Turing test. Who's familiar with that? Okay, so I'll just say a word. Alan Turing test is essentially, if I put a human, which is not in front of, if I put a human in communication with a machine and the human doesn't know that it's a machine on the other side, interact with it on a use case, it can be chat, it can be other tasks, will the human on the other side will know that it was a machine or not? So this is the postula and definition of that we reach a kind of model of human intelligence. So 1960, 1970, early enthusiasm. Everyone was very ambitious about the topic. The first models, one which called ELISA, was born. Then 1980, the expert systems started to emerge. Sorry. And we gained expertise. We started going fast on that field. 1990s, machine learning. So first models of, we will not write algorithms as we do in an explicit manner. Let's see if we feed data to machines and give them a few directions, a few things to focus on. Can they find relationship between these data and infer behavior? From 2000s, we went to what we call deep learning revolution, which is basically just a word for this field. It is standing on a lot of mathematical models, a lot of deep theories, vectorial spaces, if you are familiar with. So deep learning is a revolution of modeling the analysis that the machine does to a data that it receives. Here we started getting a bit into biomimics. So we are looking into nature. We are saying, how can we model nature? We looked at the human brain. We are a species that loves itself. So we said, there is no better intelligence than us. So let's see how we work and try to put that into machine. So neural networks were born. Okay, so AI, what is it? Just to put the fundamentals and not to mix all the things. So we try to simulate a human intelligence in the human brain, and this includes problem solving or tasks or any other thing that us as humans. So there is AI, machine learning, deep learning, and Gen AI. So what are we talking about? Let's try to put a hierarchy between all these topics. So AI is a discipline. It's based on mathematics. It's a field of research. It's a theory and methods to build machines that mimic human intelligence. And in order to reach this goal, mathematical and theoretical models were put in place. This gave birth to machine learning as a subfield of AI. So as a subfield of AI, it focuses on giving the ability to computers to learn without explicit coding. So first here there is a revolution. Then deep learning is a subfield of machine learning. So it's a field that was enabled by computing power. So we knew how to do much with computers. We had better hardware, better software, so we could have huge volumes of data. And it was based also, I was saying before, on the neural network models that were inspired by human brain. Okay, so these three here comes then generative AI, which is a subfield of deep learning. Because AI was here a long time ago, as you have seen, 1950s. But we start seeing generative AI, so an artificial intelligence that is generating content. We were not used to this, and it is thus a subfield of deep learning, and it processes both labeled and unlabeled data. So I will not get into the details. If you want, we can speak about this afterward and have a drink around that and debate about also the morality of AI. Etc. Will it make us go extinct or not? We can talk about that for hours. And just keep this in mind. Machine learning, deep learning, it's about data that is labeled, data that is not labeled, and we have what we call supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Do we assist the machine into learning how data relate to each other or not? So, I was saying before, AI is not new. It's old news. But the generative AI is the recent hot player in the field. So, before we had more discriminative AI. So, it's labeling. AI that can tell us, okay, this is a cup, this is not a cup, etc. But it cannot generate instances of a cup or a mix between a cup and a bottle. And now we went into generative AI, so we can generate new data instances that are based on a mathematical model that is a learned probability distribution of the existing data. So it kind of tries to understand. It's like a human being finally, but more specialized, not general intelligence. If you say to a child, for example, you show them images of cups or bottles and say, "Draw me a cup," they will do an approximation of the cup and draw it. It won't look like a cup, you won't use it as a cup, but it's a statistical approximation of a cup. So now I hope I laid the basics. We all agree on what field is in any other field and we kind of dissociate them. So it's like AI, we're building a relationship between the information that we have. Then we will dive into Salesforce and AI. So Salesforce and AI, it's a long story that started way before. Remember discriminative and generative AI? So Salesforce had discriminative capabilities of AI since few years after 2014 with Einstein. All what you do in Tableau, Amin was talking about lead scoring, opportunity and scoring, insights, etc. This is analytics, this is discriminative AI. So based on data, we kind of label the data that you gave us, what we won't generate to you in new data. Recently, has everybody uses ChatGPT. You see the adoption rate is crazy. The change in adoption people will get inspired from that. So you all, 80% of you have used ChatGPT, so you know what it is like. We are surprised. We think that we are facing a machine and talking. That we are talking to a human. So it's verifying the Turing test. So now the generative AI capabilities are coming into Salesforce with CodeGen coming to maturity, but it's work that started before. Salesforce was acquiring a mastermind, for example, and working on this topic since the foundation of the AI research. So I just want to give you a few words about the generative AI landscape and touch on your question that you asked on the session before. So here is how the landscape looks today. You can find this on architects.salesforce.com. So it gives you a overview of Salesforce capabilities. So you have the Customer 360 applications. You have a human in the loop module. I will describe all the modules and then zoom in each one. You have the Einstein trust layer, this frontier here, which is not a module, it's more complicated. It's complicated than that in a concept. That's why it is written this way. So you have generative services and apps, foundational services, foundational models. You have the data here, and you have the infrastructure, the hyperforce, and then outside the external world, additional models. So we are all here familiar with the Customer 360 apps, so sales, services, marketing cloud, etc., etc. The human loop was not here before. So it's kind of, I'll put that on hold and go to the Einstein capabilities, and then we'll come back to the human in the loop. So the generative services and apps, it's the first gate for the users. You go through it with prompts. I don't know if you have seen the latest release, 24 winter release. In sales and services, for example, you can pre-configure prompts to generate emails, generate knowledge articles, fill, for example, description fields for a product, etc. So you ask the model through the prompt studio. You have also templates that you can create to ask the foundational services that are, let's say, the specialized gates for the foundational model that redirects you to the foundational model that gives you the feedback, depending on what you asked, of course. So you have use cases related to business, but you have also CodeGen that is more in tune to Apex and for developers to use. So the foundational model, you have models that were developed by Salesforce, but you have also external models here. Now if you recognize its OpenAI logo, you can bring your own model. If you have a model on Azure or Amazon, you can bring it also and plug it to Salesforce. So this usage of external entities puts the question that our colleague asked us before: what about the data security and transparency, and what about retention of this data and its usage by the AI providers? So now we zoomed in this part right here, the Einstein trust layer. So remember, we had the Salesforce applications. So you are a user in service. You want to win time generating an email, etc. You send your prompt using a template, for example. There is policies and permissions to let some users use certain labels or not. Just after that, we start by secure dynamic grounding. So what it is securing dynamic grounding? It takes, in fact, context from your CRM and data cloud data in order to personalize the response that you will get. So, for example, you are a life science industry or automobile industry. You have many data points in regards to your business that needs to be taken into account so that the response will be personalized and you can make use of it. So we ground the model with your context, and then we secure it to avoid the attacks on prompt and injecting tokens that are words into your prompt. This adds a new layer of security. So this is related also to prompt defense, so securing masking it because, for example, you are using Marketing Cloud, you have LGBT rules that you must adhere to in your country. So what does Salesforce is that they encrypt these tokens, so they are not accessible, and then they remove also the toxicity because you need a moral background, a moral framework about what we ask. So we filter that, and then we go directly to the gateways of the large language model. So you are a developer, maybe you are using Einstein GPT for code, so you will use CodeGen, which is a language model that Salesforce developed. You are not going out of the frontier, you're fine. But imagine for some services, for example, for sales or services, Salesforce is using today OpenAI capabilities. What happens? Will OpenAI use this data? What is its path inside OpenAI infrastructure? So here what we are doing is Salesforce did a partnership with OpenAI, so there is a legal agreement to not use data, and they created an instance specific for Salesforce so that they secure the data by their customers. And they make sure, so this is what Salesforce, you can ask our Salesforce colleague about this, how they are doing that, but they assured that they have ways to check if the data is kept or not by the external providers. And then the answer comes back, same treatment, toxicity detection. So I forgot about this slide, but I spent a lot of time doing this. So it comes back, toxicity detection. We remove any response that may be maybe not adhering to our morals. We demask it, we remove the encryption, and here comes the feedback framework. Remember the human in the loop before? So one question. Imagine you are raising a kid and you taught him everything you wanted him to be taught, but you kept him in the room, not seeing the external world for 5 years. If you bring him back again, there will be discontinuity. So he will not respond as the other humans. There will be a gap into his maturity. So here, what Salesforce is trying to do is to make sure that your model is following you each time. By you teaching him, is this feedback good or not? So the next response will be better than the one before. So we register all this in the audit trail, and then we feed back the end user. So this is the trust layer overview. If you have any questions, then I'll try to leave some time for that. So this gives us in a nutshell that the Einstein trust layer secures data via dynamic grounding, data masking, toxicity, auditing, and zero retention. You have learned data that comes from either your own model, external models, or Salesforce model, and the data is stored in data cloud in your CRM or any other data lake that you have in your architecture. So this is about the architecture level. Now we will dive deeper. Okay, I'm a developer. What's in it for me today? So today, Salesforce is pushing forward Einstein GPT, your co-pilot today. So, how many of you have used already Einstein GPT for that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So this capability is kind of ChatGPT, but for developers. So there is a parameter that you need to enable in your sandbox or developer environment, and then download an extension in your VS Code in order to use it with a ChatGPT. So your prompt does not go out from Salesforce, still in the trust layer. So once you have that Einstein extension downloaded and installed, you can write your prompts as you used to do in ChatGPT. But don't worry, we'll not tell anybody we're doing that. It generates for you your code. Okay, perfect. Here everything is fine. But I want to say that we need to bring attention to the fact that we are the ones that ask. So ask and you shall receive. So depending on how much the way you ask, you will get different responses, maybe great one or bad one. This is where prompting comes in to play. So see here this example of write an Apex method that accepts list of SO object in the field name and returns a set of non-null values. So you have the model of Salesforce that will give you a feedback. You need also to check if this script corresponds to what you were expecting. I want to highlight this one. check with me this first prompt. So write code to provide ability to update the first name for a list of users, generate this response. It gives you a certain code. Here it sends you back a list of users, but this does not follow Salesforce best practices. And this is the first version. When you change just a word, rather than generate a response, you say, as a method, the response changes. So there is a huge dependency and stability depending on the words, because your words become tokens. They are evaluated as a formula with a statistic response, and you are given a feedback. Because even if, though you think Salesforce is kind of thinking and answering you, no, they do not understand. Not Salesforce, but the model does not understand what you are asking. They are just doing statistics and giving you an answer. So ask well, and you will get a better response. This sounds like something our parents may tell us. So next, prompting. So how do you get better to this? You need to divide prompting to 4 levels. So instruction, context, input data, and output indicator. So the instruction is the task that you want the language model to do. The context is your company information. The input data, it's the data that you add to your prompt so that you have the personalized response that you have. And then the output indicator, do you want an image, do you want a word, a method, etc. So this is the 4 high-level, let's say, blocks. So whenever you are to prompt, have these in mind. However, it depends, of course, on the context. They are not, let's say, must-have blocks in your prompt, but it's a nice to have. I want to share with you some paths if you want to go forward. So there is a lot of scientific studies that tackle this prompting topic, and prompting will be a skill that is necessary tomorrow. You may have prompting engineers or prompting specialists in your teams. So I want to share with you there's the few shot prompting. So disconnected prompting, it's like when you're talking with your friend and you know that he is doing something else at the same time. So that is not following through. So disconnected prompts. This is the least optimized way of prompting. Chain of thought, it will look more like a discussion. So you need to use what you prompted before and to build on that. A way to enhance the chain of thought is self-consistency. So you are kind of providing an identity to the model that you are speaking with. You are giving it knowledge, affirmations to take into account into the response that it is giving you. This leads us to generate knowledge prompting. So it's like when you are being mentored and you are testing your model. So you have like a test data, discussing with it, but you, like our teachers used to do this in high school, they look at the kid who seems not following and say, what did I say like 5 minutes ago? It's the same thing. You need to ask again to ground your model so that these words are evaluated and given more tokens, more importance in the statistical method. Tree of thought, it's general prompting plus self-consistency, and all this gave birth to a framework called React. So React, I highly advise that you check Prompt Engineering Guide. You have the website here. I don't know if we'll share the slides later or not, but just type Prompt Engineering Guide. They did a wonderful job for free. You can level up, understand all the models, understand the theory, and ramp up easily on the topic. It's a gold mine, to be honest. So React is a framework that grabs all this together, but be aware, do not read this before going to bed because it will help you sleep. So it depends on what's your goal there. So finally, to leave us some time to discuss, what are the takeaways? So know the basics. You need to know when you are speaking about AI, what are you referring to? Blaze the trail and play with the tools. So go to Trailhead. There is a lot of content there. And once you finish with that, you can click on the links on resources and go your way. So this will help you to stay up to date. And finally, network to network. So the network is important because, okay, you are focusing on a field, on a technology, and each technology is a black box. You can get lost in it. So get in touch with other people, enrich your context with their data points, if I may say, and you may find synergies, correlations, and ideas to apply to your context and solve your problems. So that was it. Thank you for listening. So, do you have any questions? Yeah, from the golden hoodie, that was certain. I've seen you at the beginning, I said.
Thank you. Yeah, firstly, a great session. I've used the Einstein GPT just a little bit, playing around with it, not in a project code base, just in kind of like an aside. I don't want to have the potential of it leaking anywhere. My experience was that the responses that came back definitely needed human parsing. Like, I'd put it at the lower end of my code review scale, I guess. Has that been your experience as well in terms of the responses you're getting back? Maybe in terms of like best practices, using like user mode and things like that?
Yeah, there is a difference in the mic level. So yeah, definitely. Right. We need to, we are all agile here. We know what's MVP is. I think Salesforce did not want to miss the wave because there was a lot of talk about ChatGPT, and they wanted to put something forward. It's a good thing. So it's the same thing as the old industry. So this is important because it puts more responsibility on the developer, and I say like maybe it's a good thing. So to not trust at the beginning, to remember that it can give you false responses or not precise responses. This is hallucinations also that come from how the model was trained. So bear that in mind. I think now it's more a boilerplate tool, and then you need to add your intelligence in it. But it's certain that it will evolve because the field is going so fast and capabilities are ramping up. Now Salesforce are calling for external entities. I think with the future we're bringing your own model, and the model of Salesforce being developed, but we will see better things in the future. Any other questions?
Like my question is about like retrieval augmented generation. Is Salesforce like have any plan for vector databases? If you want to make your AI very strong without fine tuning, it's better to use the data that you have like in your documents. So let me phrase differently. Like if you have like all the documents in Salesforce, how can you use your knowledge database with the prompting to make it like answer accurate?
So yeah, that's a great question, because now we see a retrieval augmented generation. So there's tools on the market to do that, and so kind of personalizing more like creating your knowledge base, and the model is searching in this knowledge base at the beginning. You kind of give them rules if you want to bypass it or not in certain conditions. I think this is something that certainly Salesforce will look on it. I want us to comment this by saying there is a forward-looking statement, so let's ask our Salesforce colleague about it. But I don't see a way where Salesforce will not follow the new technology solutions, because we were at the leader position in the past on the CRM, and I think now their aim is to get back to that level, and they will use all the available knowledge. And I think this is something that you need to look into data cloud, because data cloud is being pushed forward now more and more to be this this technology stack that helps you bring an all model kind of beside of your mapping of your graph exposure of your data. So I think they are not so far from our ask. You're welcome. Any other question? Okay, so I'll see, just to look at the time. Yeah, we are at 30 minutes, so thank you all. Thanks. We can discuss later if you want.